Hello friends, I am Arpit and I am here with today's analysis. Today is 3rd of November and we are going to cover two very important topics which are in news. The first topic is UNESCO names Kozhikode and Gwalior as City of Literature. Now, this UNESCO issues a list named as UCCN, UNESCO's Creative Cities Network, and in India, there were 3 cities already there in this network. That is Kashmir, Varanasi and Chennai. And this year, 2 more cities have been added. These are Gwalior and Kozhikode, both of them. What is the grounds for inclusion? Why they are included? What is the significance of this inclusion? What is the significance of this list? Everything we'll cover in this topic. The second topic which we are going to cover is FATF, that is Financial Action Task Force report on crowdfunding for terrorism. This report has been released and FATF has not explicitly mentioned, but yes, they are pointing towards an organization in India which is using this strategy, that is crowdfunding, raising funds from the crowds on pretext of net charity donations and all, and then utilizing those funds for terrorism. That organization in India is PFI, People's Front of India. This People's Front of India was also in news last year when it issued an assassination threat for the Indian Prime Minister. Now, FATF has revealed that they are using crowdfunding as a source of funding for their terrorist activities. So here in this detail, we'll study about the details of PFI as well as what is the significance and importance of crowdfunding as a method for, funding for terrorism. UNESCO names Kozhikode and Gwalior as City of Literature, or in its City of, I would say, UNESCO's Creative Cities Network. Kozhikode has been included because of its literature or literary richness. There have been various, I would say, authors which have come from that particular city in Kerala. There have been various, I would say, theatre artists or movie artists that have kept the tradition alive, the culture alive from Kozhikode. In fact, the first novel written in, Malayalam was written in Kozhikode. That is why it has been included. Talking about Gwalior, Gwalior has this richness of, I would say, music personalities. The Gwalior Gharana is world famous. Then we had multiple other noted musicians from Gwalior. And now Gwalior, for the pretext of music, has been included in this list. So let us look into the details of this topic to understand it better. The city of Kozhikode in Kerala was added in UNESCO's Creative Cities Network. Apart from Kozhikode, Gwalior was also added in this list. The cities have been handpicked to represent 7 creative fields. If a city is having expertise or there are noted number of personalities in that city in these 7 fields and they are using this creativity in these 7 fields for sustainable urban development, so then they will be included. How can they use creativity in sustainable urban development? Like, for example, there are theatre artists or there are musicians, so they can create folk songs for generating awareness among the people with respect to not littering on the road. They can generate awareness among the people for segregating the dry waste and wet waste in their homes. In this way, they will be contributing in, I would say, more and more, cleaner cities. That is sustainable urban development. That is the main theme, using creativity for sustainable urban development. Creativity is there, it is inherent, and every region might have its own creativities. But how that creativity is put to use, obviously the government is responsible for that. The government at the lowest level, that is the local governments and all, they are very much instrumental in utilizing or channelizing their creativity for sustainable urban development. So what kind of creativity or 7 creative fields? Crafts and folk arts, design, film, gastronomy, literature, media arts and music. So these things can be used for generating awareness. Let's suppose, the artists, these people are here, media arts and all. They create, various paintings for beautifying the city on the walls, and their paintings are there with a message. So that is basically you are putting creativity for sustainable urban development. That message can be any message. Swachh Bharat message can be there, or family planning messages can be there, like hum do hamare do, bacche do hi acche. These kind of messages are there painted on the walls. So creativity contributing to sustainability. Kozhikode was included in the category of literature. So Kozhikode here in this category, and Gwalior was included in this category of music. And overall, across the world, there were 55 cities included in this list this year. Out of 55, 2 are in India. Now the literary tradition of Kozhikode. The first Malayalam novel, Kundalatha, was born in Kozhikode in the year 1887. It was authored by Appu Nedugadi. And several illustrious writers like S.K. Pottekat, Vaikom Muhammad Bashir, Urub, Thekodian, N.N. Kakad, P. Valsala, Akbar Kakatil, Punathil Kunjabula and M.T. Vasudevan Nair. Obviously not to be remembered. These names are very difficult in itself. Not to be remembered. They have brought laurels to Kozhikode. The city has also produced many film and theatre professionals in the last half century. So this talks about literary richness of the city of Kozhikode, and which made it, I would say, a suitable contender in this list of UCCN by UNESCO. The music tradition of Gwalior. Gwalior was acknowledged for its strong commitment to harnessing culture and creativity as part of UNESCO's development strategies and displaying innovative practices in human-centered urban planning. Actually, Gwalior is the city of Tansen, Baiju Bawra, birthplace of Dhrupad music, and Gwalior Gharana, which are world known for its contributions in music. So this is something which makes Gwalior unique and a perfect contender for this position in the UCCN list. Now, the Madhya Pradesh Tourism Board, in cooperation with Municipal Corporation of Gwalior, Gwalior Smart City Development Corporation Limited, Raja Man Singh Tomar Music and Arts University, music artists and other stakeholders, they were involved in pushing Gwalior for this particular inclusion in the list of UNESCO. So here we can see the local level government is involved, the state tourism department is involved in that. Now, which Indian cities are part of UCCN in India? Apart from, we've seen Kozhikode and Gwalior, which have been included this year. There are 3 more cities which are part of this. Varanasi for music, Srinagar for crafts and folk arts, Chennai for again music has been included in the network in the past. So now in India there are 5 cities which are included in this list. Varanasi, Srinagar, Chennai, Kozhikode and Gwalior. About UCCN. UCCN was created in the year 2004 to promote cooperation among cities, have identified creativity as a strategic factor for sustainable urban development. So creativity as a strategic factor for sustainable urban development. Urbanization is going to increase. As economic development increases, urbanization increases. This is a universal phenomenon. And in India, according to the 2011 census, there was only 31.2% of the population living in urban areas. Means majority of the population living in rural areas, but yes, with a very strong rural to urban migration trend. So in the coming up census, we may experience more number of people living in the urban areas, and it will put more pressure on the urban water resources and other urban resources also. And in this scenario, we need sustainable urban development, and to promote sustainable urban development, Obviously, those kind of technological adaptations have to be done. That is actually the thing which will be doing it. But to spread awareness among the people will definitely go a long way, and creativity can be used for doing that. This is the main, I would say, idea behind inclusion of cities in UCCN list. It now includes 350 cities over 100 countries all across the world. It was launched to promote UNESCO's goals of cultural diversity. And with this inclusion of cities on the basis of their cultural assets in this list, it will also promote and preserve culture. This is also one of the goal of UNESCO's. So it will be like promoting and preserving culture on one side, and that culture will be targeting sustainable urban development on the other side. So it is kind of a win-win situation for UNESCO. Promote UNESCO's goals of cultural diversity and strengthen resilience to threats such as climate change, rising inequality, and rapid urbanization. So all these will be tackled. Aims and objectives of this. The network is aimed at leveraging creative, social, and economic potential of cultural industries. It encourages a culture of creativity in urban planning and solutions to urban problems. It allows member cities to recognize creativity as an essential component of urban development and do not ignore it. And this will be done by public and private sectors, and as well as civil society also. It envisages to develop hubs of creativity and innovation, opportunities for creators and professionals in the cultural sector. Their livelihood may also be uplifted, artisans and all, because they are largely ignored. And these cities have to achieve the UN agenda of sustainable development, basically sustainable development goals with respect to the United Nations, which have released those SDGs in 2015. So we have to achieve them as well, and these will definitely help us in doing that. Modus operandi, how this network operates. Now, first of all, at the city level, which has been included in the UCCN list, there that culture is preserved, it is proliferated, it is being used for sustainable urban development also. So that cultural element is definitely not dying in that particular area or that city. But not only in that city, that cultural element can be taken at the global level also. And other cities can also learn from this cultural element to spread sustainability over there in their respective countries and cities. So at two levels it is happening. The objective of this network are implemented both at the level of member cities and at international level also, notably through sharing experiences, knowledge and best practices. There are professional and artistic exchange programs, research and evaluations on the experience of creative cities among other activities. This is how the modus operandi is. Now the conferences. There are actually annual conferences also, where mayors of all these selected cities or included cities, they go and meet and they discuss the progress on their cities, how or they are using this creativity as a tool for sustainable development. So there is this annual conference of mayors and other stakeholders of the network cities. This offers a unique occasion to strengthen ties between creative cities from across the world. Now we can spread our culture also to other countries, because when our mayors of these 5 cities in India, that is Srinagar, Varanasi, Kozhikode, Gwalior and Chennai, they go in that summit every year. They are actually ambassadors of our culture over there. They can spread our cultural elements in other countries also, and take cultural elements of other countries also and make them implemented here. So this is actually cross flow of culture will also happen through these kind of conferences. The last conference was held in Santos, Brazil. This year's conference, Istanbul. Next conference, July 2024, Braga, Portugal. This is basically the places where it has been held. Now, obligations on the members. Now, once a city has been included, does not mean that it cannot be excluded. If that city is not able to use the creativity for which it is known and for which it is included for sustainable development or sustainable urban development in its respective area, then there are chances that UNESCO will remove that city from the list. And for that purpose, every 4 years, a report has to be tabled. Every 4 years, member cities are required to submit a membership monitoring report. How they are, I would say, implementing this. This report is presented with the aim of demonstrating their steadfast commitment towards the implementation of UCCN mission statement. UCCN mission statement is nothing but use creativity for sustainable urban development in the cities. They present an action plan for the following 4 years. Now in this every 4 year report, so they assess what they have done, how they are doing, how it is going, and what we are planning in the next 4 years also. This is also to be submitted, and after 4 years they will again table this kind of report. We projected this, we did this, kind of this comparison will be there. Okay, so this is how things progress in this network. Obviously a very good initiative by UNESCO, because it is targeting preservation of culture, which is its mandate. It is also linking preservation of culture with sustainable urban development, which is the need of the hour. If we do not target that, then the cities will not be livable. And presently Delhi is not livable. The air quality is worsening. It has entered the severe category. We covered a video on that. Okay, so you should be able to connect with that video also. I think it was 24th of October when we covered that video, when it started to come in this category of very poor. Now, coming to the next news, that is FATF report on crowdfunding for terrorism. FATF, Financial Action Task Force. This is an international body which came into existence in the year 1989. The G7 grouping actually formed this group. Its main mandate at that time in 1989 was to combat money laundering in the world. But after the 9/11 attacks in 2001, terror funding was also added as its mandate to control terror funding. So now it tackles money laundering on one side and terror financing or terror funding on the other side. FATF has released a report, and in that report, FATF has highlighted that an organization based in India is using a unique method of raising funds for terror financing. That unique method is crowdfunding. Crowdfunding can be done from the crowd. Actually, you can raise any cause. You can create a false narrative also over there, like let's suppose I belong to a terrorist organization, but I create a false narrative that my child is ill or my mother is ill. I need money for her cure. She's having a unique illness and all. I need this much money. I create this campaign. I can also collaborate with many of, I would say, online platforms who are indulging into crowdfunding for various patients. They are doing a good job. I'm not against that platforms. There's one platform named as Impact Guru, which is doing a perfect, or I would say not a perfect, but a very good job for crowdfunding for needy people. But this crowdfunding as a method is being misutilized by the terrorist organization. FATF has not explicitly named, but is targeting towards one organization in India which is using this crowdfunding for terrorism, and that organization is PFI, People's Front of India. So let us look into the details of this particular topic so that we understand it in a better way. According to the Crowdfunding for Terrorism Financing report recently published by FATF, violent extremist organization under investigation in India collected funds through well-structured networks. Without naming the organization, it makes a reference to the Popular Front of India. That is the full form of PFI. About PFI, it was found in 2007, a year after the merger of three Muslim groups: National Democratic Front in Kerala, the Karnataka Forum for Dignity, this was in Karnataka, and Manitha Nithi Pasarai in Tamil Nadu. The three southern states in which three separate organizations were, they all came together and they formed the PFI in 2007. Actually, In 2007, there was also a ban on one organization, which was the Students Islamic Movement of India, SIMI. SIMI as an organization was formed in 1967 in Aligarh. When this organization was formed, this organization was against the Western influences over the Muslim youth. They were targeting just that. It was not a militant organization. They did not want the Muslim youth to wear Western clothes, to eat Western food. They were targeting these things. But slowly and gradually, 1980s, 1990s, especially after the Babri Masjid demolition, this SIMI turned hardcore militant in nature. They adopted violent means to spread their voice. And they were banned under UAPA in the year 2004, and in the aftermath of ban on SIMI, this organization was formed, PFI. Another organization was formed in the aftermath of ban on SIMI, and that was Indian Mujahideen. This Indian Mujahideen was formed in 2007 only. This Indian Mujahideen is working on, or was working on, the modus operandi of sleeper cells. But anyways, coming back to Popular Front of India. Popular Front of India was formed by merging three organizations, one in Kerala, one in Karnataka, one in Tamil Nadu. PFI is most active in Kerala, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu hence. However, now it has presence in around 24 states and a well-established organizational structure in a dozen states. PFI calls itself a socio-political movement that strives for the empowerment of the Muslim and other marginalized sections of the society. PFI calls itself like this, that I am a socio-political organization working for the welfare of the marginalized section of the society, that is the Muslims. Last year, PFI was also involved in issuing death threats or assassination threats for the Indian Prime Minister. And then PFI offices were raided, many people were arrested also who were involved in issuing these kind of threats. But the authority, means the top authority leadership in PFI, denied the fact and distanced itself from those people. So this is now involved in this crowdfunding method for raising funds for terrorist activities. Now what does the report say? Let us look into the report as well. FATF report said that accounts of PFI involved both domestic and foreign transactions, making this case extremely difficult to investigate. Funds were ultimately used to procure arms and ammunitions and for trading the cadres of the violent extremist organizations, among other purposes. But it was true that funds were used for these kind of purposes. A portion of the funds raised through crowdfunding was also invested or parked in businesses and real estate projects to generate regular income for terrorism activities. The group's fundraising tactics included offline and online mechanisms, such as circulating QR codes and account details through which donors were asked to send money. So this crowdfunding as a method for fundraising is unique and pretty dangerous also, because crowds, they actually, if they fall in that, I would say, trap, and they become emotional that that person actually is in need of money, so they keep on donating. They can donate even small amounts like 500, 100, 1000, but if multiple of them will donate, it will make the entire amount bigger, which is going to be detrimental. The benefits of crowdfunding for the terrorists: the possibility of quick and easily reaching a global audience makes crowdfunding an attractive method. Some estimates have valued the global crowdfunding market at $17.2 billion in 2020 and note that it is expected to reach $34.6 billion by 2026. Means almost double over there. There were over 6 million crowdfunding campaigns around the world. Although the majority of crowdfunding activity is legitimate, but terrorist groups like ISIL and ethnically or racially motivated terrorists have exploited it to raise money for terrorist financing purposes. A terrorist may establish a fundraising campaign on a dedicated crowdfunding platform, share the campaign on social media and his networks to generate money over there. to raise money from there. Any emotional cause can be attached to it for raising the funds. Obviously, that emotional cause will not to be true in nature. This has to be checked, and hopefully, crowdfunding and all, this will come under the scanner of the government, especially after this report has been released by FATF, and that has to be checked. The government is doing all possible or taking all possible measures to attack terrorism, including hard power. Plus, government is also looking to cut their sources of funding, because funding is there, so everything is possible for them. But if funding is stopped, definitely we will be able to paralyze them. So this is the importance of funding, and a new way of crowdfunding is come to surface. This is again alarming. So this should be tackled. And we've completed this particular topic also. So today, two important topics. First was UCCN, UNESCO's Creative Cities Network list, where Gwalior and Kozhikode have been included. Varanasi, Chennai and Kashmir were already there. Then second was this FATF releasing a report in which it is highlighting Popular Front of India's alleged involvement in a new method of funding, that is crowdfunding, for raising funds from the crowd for terrorist activities. This is it for today. I will be meeting you tomorrow with some more informative and useful stuffs. Till then, you guys know what to do. Keep studying, keep reading, keep writing, and most importantly, keep revising. Namaste. Jai Hind.